everyone! In today's video, we'll be making Hong Kong style fried noodles or 港式煎面. I'm using these dry noodles today, but you may also use fresh noodles. Make sure they're Hong Kong or Cantonese style noodles which are thin and cook quickly. Other types of noodles are not suitable for this dish. We'll start by deboning a chicken leg. This chicken leg weighs about 200 grams with the bones included. We only need one for this recipe, so this is just for demonstration purposes. We'll remove the bones so that we're left with a boneless chicken leg which will cook more evenly. Of course, you can buy a boneless chicken leg from a butcher or grocery store if available. We start by Frenching near the top of the tibia or drumstick, which used to be connected to the chicken's foot. We'll then push the meat down the tibia until we meet the femur joint or thigh joint. You can just use your hands for this. Pop the tibia off of this joint, then pull the tibia out. You can use your knife to help you with this. The femur bone should have popped off the joint as well. If not, simply French it the same way you did with the tibia. We'll pull the meat off the femur bone until we can remove it, again using our hands. We now need to isolate the two joints and cut them off. Note that this is how I personally debone chicken legs, and there are plenty of other methods. Some are faster but preserve less meat. By the way, I'm opting to leave the skin on my chicken, but you can remove it if you wish. We now have a deboned chicken leg. We'll just make a shallow cut on the bottom to make it a more even thickness. You can compare the two boneless chicken legs. We're ready to proceed to the next step. We'll prepare 6 medium-sized prawns or shrimp. A fresh prawn should have its head firmly attached to the body, and the shells should feel firm, not mushy, and peel easily from the body. Cut off the head and peel the shell segment by segment until you can remove the entire thing. If you're having trouble with this, it means your prawns may not be too fresh. We'll need to devein the prawns by making a cut on top and removing their digestive tract. Note that the black line on the bottom of the prawn is a nerve and perfectly fine to leave on. Gently remove the prawn's digestive tract. You may save the shells and heads for making a stock for dishes such as prawn bisque or seafood risotto. We'll now clean the prawns with some water. This will get rid of any excess debris from the shells. Drain the prawns and then add a little bit of salt. That's a 1/4 teaspoon. And we'll also add a teaspoon of rice vinegar. This will season the prawns as well as remove the fishy smell. We'll simply mix it in and set it aside. We'll also clean our boneless chicken leg. Again, add a teaspoon of rice vinegar to remove any odor from the chicken. Then, set the chicken on a wire rack over a metal dish and let it drip dry. Then, place it skin side up and pour boiling hot water over the skin. This is an optional step, but it will tighten the skin and make it stick to the chicken better. Of course, you can skip this step if you've removed the chicken skin previously. Then add a bit of salt on the skin. That's about half a teaspoon. This seasons the chicken as well as draws out the moisture more quickly so that the oil won't splatter when we fry it. Set it aside for now. Once the prawns have marinated, add 2 teaspoons of cornstarch and mix it in. This will lock in the moisture of the prawns when we fry them later. We'll now prepare the sauce for the noodles, which will double as a marinade for the chicken. In a bowl, I've got half a teaspoon of sugar. We'll add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, and 1 teaspoon light soy sauce. Sorry, tablespoon. We'll stir it until it's well combined. Then spoon some of the marinade to the flesh side of the chicken leg. There is no need to marinate the skin side. Massage the marinade into the chicken. Add as much as you think it needs, but be sure to save some for the sauce on the noodles. Set the marinated chicken and the rest of the sauce aside for later. Prepare 100 grams of Chinese cabbage leaves and cut them into small pieces. Be sure to separate the soft green parts and the firm white parts. We'll have to stir fry the white parts of the cabbage first and add the green parts later. Prepare 100 grams of shiitake mushrooms, also known as xianggu in Chinese. Look for mushrooms with this flower pattern on top as they're more flavorful. This mushroom isn't as good, but it'll still work. You may cut the mushroom in half before removing the stem, as the stems of shiitake mushrooms are tougher than the caps. Then, cut the caps into thick slices. You may also remove the stem before cutting, although this may sometimes be more difficult. The reason for cutting into thick slices is because the shiitake mushrooms will shrink a lot once cooked. You may also use king oyster mushrooms or any meaty mushrooms. As you can see from the cutting board, there was a fair bit of dirt on the mushrooms, so I've rinsed them here to remove the dirt. We'll pick them out and put them into a clean bowl. Don't throw away the stems. They can be cooked too if you cut them finely. Give them a rinse as well to remove any dirt and add them to the sliced caps. We'll set them aside. Prepare 80 grams of yellow onion and 40 grams of carrot. Simply slice the onion. There is no need to slice too thinly. You may also use red onions. Set them aside together with the white parts of the cabbage. We'll slice the carrot one way, then stack a few slices together at the same time to cut them into matchsticks. You may go finer if you wish, as in the julienne cut. We'll put them into a small bowl, and we're now ready to cook. Heat up the wok with some water and bring it to a simmer. Then, add the carrot strips and blanch for 1 minute. These will not be stir-fried together with the other vegetables, instead save for presentation and an element of freshness. You can of course add them to the other vegetables if you want. We'll fish them out and set them aside for later. Turn the heat back up, and once the water is back at a simmer, add in your dried noodles and simmer them for 1 minute. This will make the noodles tender but not falling apart. Fish them out and drain them well, as we'll be frying them later. Here's what the noodles look like after they've been drained. Save some of the water, as you'll need to mix it into the sauce later. Drain the water and heat up the wok over medium-high heat. Without adding any oil, add the sliced shiitake mushrooms into the wok. The reason for not adding oil is because mushrooms have water in them, which we must cook out to concentrate their flavor. Once the mushrooms are cooked, we'll add a little bit of oil to the wok. We'll stir fry the mushrooms in the oil to give them further fragrance, and the oil will also allow us to stir fry our other vegetables. Add the sliced onions and the white parts of the cabbage and fry until fragrant. There is no need to season the vegetables, as we'll be dousing them in a lovely sauce later. You may occasionally hit the side of the wok as it will gain heat faster than the center. Then stir the vegetables into it to enhance the flavor. Add the green parts of the cabbage and stir fry briefly until slightly softened. Then drain all the vegetables. Add a few tablespoons of oil to the wok and heat it up over medium-high heat. Once the oil is hot, turn the heat down to low and add in the prawns or shrimp. You need enough oil for this step, as otherwise the cornstarch will cause the prawns to stick to the wok. Turn the heat back up and allow the prawns to sear. Don't try to move them around yet, as they'll initially stick to the wok. They'll release from the wok naturally, and by that time, they'll be 75% cooked. Turn down the heat to low and just flip them and allow the prawns to cook in the residual heat. We'll cook them briefly on the second side and take them out once cooked. Although the cornstarch will lock in the moisture of the prawns, it's still important to not overcook them. The prawns are now ready, so we'll take them out and set them aside. Turn the heat back up to medium-high. Once the oil is hot enough, we'll add in our boneless chicken leg skin side down. Again, don't try to move the chicken until it's seared on the skin side. We'll give it about 3 minutes until it's 70% cooked. Turn the heat down to low, then flip it over to cook the other side. Look at that pretty skin. We'll be able to finish cooking the chicken on low heat so that it stays moist and juicy. Cook for another 2 minutes or until the chicken is cooked through, then take it out. We'll let it rest so that it can reabsorb the juices, and we'll cut it into cubes before we serve it. Now add a bit more oil to the wok and heat up over medium-high heat again. Once the oil is hot enough, we'll add the noodles in. Stir them around with chopsticks while tilting the wok so that the oil is evenly distributed. The noodles will take a few minutes to become crispy. If you're doing this in a non-stick pan, keep the heat on medium to protect the non-stick coating. You can use less oil if you have a non-stick pan, but it'll take longer for the noodles to crisp up. I'll add a bit more oil here. Pay attention and make sure there are no spots where the noodles are sticking to the wok and burning. After a few minutes, we'll flip the noodles over. Here's what the noodles look like on the bottom. As you can see, they've browned and turned crispy. We'll need to repeat this on the other side. While the noodles are browning, remember that sauce we made earlier? Take the water you saved from boiling the noodles and add some to the sauce prepared earlier until it's the right consistency. We'll mix it up, and then add some cornstarch slurry and mix that in too. Keep an eye on the noodles and make sure they get nice and crispy, but not burnt. Once the noodles are golden brown throughout, drain them and set them aside. Be sure to get those extra bits of noodle out too. Drain some excess oil, but leave some to fry the ingredients one last time. We'll now add the ingredients back in to reheat them and revive their aroma. Pour the sauce over the ingredients and let them soak up the beautiful flavor. For final seasoning, add a tablespoon of sesame oil and a pinch of white pepper. If you feel that the sauce is not savory enough, you can add a bit of light soy sauce, but be careful. The sauce should be slightly salty as the noodles are not seasoned and the flavor comes from this beautiful sauce, but don't overdo it. Spread out your crispy noodles onto a serving dish. We're now ready to serve. Add the stir-fried ingredients to your noodles. Again, there's cabbage, shiitake mushrooms, onions, and prawns, along with chicken that will be cut up and served on top. Be sure to serve the dish quickly to maximize the crispiness of the noodles. And here's our final product, Hong Kong style fried noodles, or 港式煎面. Add the carrot strips on the side of the plate for some freshness, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed this dish.